Yo,
Get lonely and bored one day and want to experience what it's like? Because if that's the case, then your starting point that bored one day and God wanted to experience what it was like to not be alone, so He created da 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 da. That's coming from a human perspective, and a human perspective is not an equilibrium. So of course we're going to come up with something like that. From a human perspective, we're going to come up with human theories. The same way if a dog could think about this, a dog would have dog theories, and a cat would have cat theories, and a frog would have frog theories. But if we were really coming from that higher level, we would see that that couldn't be the case because there is
yeah,
no possibility of progress in perfect equilibrium. Shiva is not sitting up there meditating somewhere, getting bored, saying, you know what? I don't know what it would be like if I manifested Prakriti or Shakti. No, Shakti is there as well. She's there as well. In fact, this whole thing is a dance of Shakti. Shiva never moved. God never moved. So there is no possibility of progress in perfect equilibrium. It is a state of rest. At the end of a cosmic night, it is said that equilibrium is overset, and in consequence, an outflowing of power takes place once more, and evolution begins again. 18. The equilibrium of the universe may best be likened to the swing of a pendulum rather than the grip of a clamp. It is not held immobile, and there is all the difference in the world between those two concepts. For in poise, there is always a slight vibration, a push pull between the opposing forces that holds it steady. It is a stability, not of inertia, but of strain. Mm. 19. This is represented on the tree by the two pillars of mercy and severity, which pull against each other. Gibura, severity, pulls against Gijula, mercy. Bina, form, pulls against Hokma, force. If this counter pull ceased, the universe will collapse. And you feel that pull right now, don't you? You feel the pull between mind and matter. Your body wants to do something, and your mind wants to do something, right? Your mind thinks, we should sit down and meditate. And your body thinks, no, let's go to Pornhub. You feel the pull between those two opposing forces. And what happens when they come into equilibrium? What would happen when they were working on the same accord? In fact, let's think about those times when they are working on the same accord. Those are times when the pendulum swing is in your favor. Or I should say, when the pendulum swing is harmonized, neutralized. Hmm. So 19. This is represented on the tree by the two pillars of mercy and severity, which pull against each other. Gibura, severity, pulls against Gijula, mercy. Bina, form, pulls against Hakma, force. If this counterpull ceased, if this counterpull ceased, the universe would collapse, as a man who is pulling on a rope
y'all good,
collapses if
man?
the
What's up,
rope
man?
breaks.
Bienvenue en
We must
podcast.
clearly realize that
Welcome
this
to the Z
tension, this
podcast.
resistance against which we have to
Just listen,
strain in whatever we may be
come
doing,
through.
is not evil.
You
It is
like
the
what you listening
necessary
to?
counterpoise
Like,
of
comment,
whatever
subscribe,
force
man.
we are employing.
Like, comment, subscribe, man. We're just gonna be podcasting, interviewing people and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
20. As was pointed out in a previous chapter, each
Come learn
cliff
with me.
arose primarily as an emanation of unbalanced
As he
force
speak though,
in the course of
I
the
can really
evolution of the
say
corresponding
like
Sephiroth. There was a period
from my
when
own understanding
the
and knowledge from
forces of
this,
Kether were overflowing to form Hawkmoth,
you're dealing with
and the
things
second
or
path
forces
was
that
in process
cause
of
you
becoming,
to
but not yet
always
fully
maybe have
established.
a setback or it's a
Therefore,
pattern
Kether
or
must have been out of
it's like an energy
equilibrium,
or something that you
overflowing
feel
but not
like you
yet
notice somebody
compensated. So
having
you can see some kind of
and this is gonna
spilling over the
happen and this is
top,
gonna happen. Like, you know you're gonna be
overflowing but not
disappointed.
yet
Yeah.
compensated. We see this phenomena of
That's
the
the
pathological
other side where
transition
the
stage
positive things
clearly exhibited in the case of the adolescent who
disbelief
has
of that
ceased to be a
paradigm
child under control and has not
when it
yet
come
become
down
an
to
adult and self-controlled.
self-control. You can be pulled or tugged either way, but if you got no
21.
self-control or discipline, without
Ooh,
discipline, what are you?
wow. So Curve says LMAO, the perfect balance, right? He says, bro, sometimes your examples, where the fuck you come up with them? I'll give you three
Come on now.
guesses. But you
Did I do it?
know, I think I've been getting this one since maybe 2022. Somebody mentioned Ophiel in the chat. Ophiel put me onto this book. They're still making it, right? Get this moon sign book. Why? Because if you turn towards the back, at least, I mean, it's not even that expensive. I think it's like $8, but it's worth it because you need to use this book all year long. I'm trying to flip to the chart real quick. I probably passed it. But anyways, there's a chart that it has in the back. Oh my god. I swear when I need it I can't find it, but when I find it, I don't need it. There it is. Basically, where are we at? We are now in March. So yeah, boom. Right here at a glance, you just bookmark this bad boy. You'll see today is Saturday, 4:52 a.m.
Y'all can hear
That
me?
moon has gone into Aries, and it's going to be in Aries until about Monday at 5:37 a.m. So what I'm saying here is, pay attention to that uh, dance between your mind and your body. Pay attention to the dance between the situations in your life. Just pay attention to what's happening, your feelings, your emotions, like because here's the thing. That pull between mind and body, that pull between your coworkers and you doing your job or you going to the gym or whatever the pulls are in your life, they produce a chemical reaction inside of you. They produce a state inside of you. Pay attention to those states. Look at those states and track them day by day. And just look and see if they line up with some of these changes. Just pay attention to see if they line up with some of these changes. Most people they pay attention to the sun, moving into a different sign, and that's fine. But the moon is all has always been the clock. The moon has always been the clock. So I challenge you to just pay attention to yourself and also track and see if you shift with the pull of the moon's phases. Not only is it going to be in Aries, but we're looking at is it going to be full? Is it going to be new? Right now, it's new. It's black. But if you're not ready for that, do you? WT says, makes sense why the song They Not Like Us got so powerful here in the West. This place has always been at war with something. Amen to that. We've always been at war with something. And here's the thing, that outside is only a reflection of our collective inside, right? You don't want to go to war with a soldier. No limit true. I thought I told you. So we talked about Kether being in that process of becoming, but not yet fully established. Therefore, Kether must have been out of equilibrium at some point, right? Overflowing, but not yet compensated. We see this phenomena of the pathological transition stage clearly exhibited, right? The pathological transition stage clearly exhibited in the case of the adolescent who has ceased to be a child under control and has not yet become an adult and self-controlled. The Chronicles of Sat Ra says, "What's the book called, please?" The Moon Sign book. The Moon Sign book. See? It's a good way to pay attention to it. I mean, of course, yeah, you can go online and see with it, but it's more of a, I have found personally, truly, it is more of a hassle to look up where the moon is, what phase and what sign on the internet than it is to have it conveniently on this book. 'Cause I'll tell you what, way easier to get distracted on that phone than it is to be with an open book in front of you. And look at you with your phone, with an open book on the phone. Planet Oz says, "Doesn't Earth have cycles?" Absolutely. But see, it's these cycles that are triggered by the sun and the moon. Triggered by the sun and the moon. The sun is like the hour clock, the hour hand of the clock, and the moon is like the minute hand of the clock. All right. 21. It was this inevitable period of unbalanced force, the pathology of transition, that gave rise to each Cliffa in turn. Okay. So think about here Kether being as it is, but slowly accumulating more and more of itself that is starting to spill over. And as it's starting to spill over, it's almost like molten lava, right? As it pours out, it carves a path for itself and it kind of pools and collects into a new state. And that's going to be Hakma. So that overflow stage and that pouring out before it starts carving a path, that's when the Cliffa is born. J. Baldhill says, "Do you have or like the Llewellyn Book of Correspondence?" I do have it. I have used it a few times. It's a big book. I mean, it's got some good stuff in there. I didn't lean on it as hard as I did on Godwin Kabbalist Encyclopedia. I wore that book out. Um, to me, that's my favorite book of correspondences. But I mean, I was heavily Kabbalah focused. J. Baldhill says, "Is Magician's Tables better?" I liked the Magician's Tables better. You're talking about Skinner, I believe it was, the big yellow book. I liked that one better. Um, yeah, I liked it better. I liked it a whole lot. I've used it a whole lot more. To be honest, I believe the Llewellyn course, just to be transparent, the Llewellyn correspondence book, I used it probably less than 5 times, maybe 5 times. Um, the Skinner book, I used a whole lot more. But like I said, the Kabbalistic Encyclopedia by Godwin, I used the most. The Skinner one is excellent, though. I have no complaints about the Skinner one. It was good. So I remember it being kind of pricey. So probably my perspective would be biased because I used Godwin's first, then I used Skinner's thoroughly. So maybe by the time I got to the Llewellyn one, it's like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Just, I got some better. Good question. Good question. Brother Shamel says all of Skinner's work is fire. All of what I've seen. Okay. So it was this inevitable period of unbalanced force, the pathology of transition, that gave rise to each Cliffa in turn. It follows then the solution of the problem of evil and its eradication from the world is not to be achieved through its suppression, cutting off, or destruction, but through its compensation and consequent absorption back to the sphere whence it came. The unbalanced force, Kether, gave rise to the dual contending forces, must be neutralized by a corresponding increase in the activity of Hakma, wisdom. So, do you see what just mentioned here? If we're dealing with cliff influence of Kether, we need to strengthen what's happening in Haka, because that cliffotic influence of Kether is the result of an overflow of it being out of balance to the point that it's starting to overflow. So we're going to need to do something to catch the overflow so that a circuit of force can be formed. Now this has got me thinking. 22. The unbalanced, and by the way, right here is exactly what she means by having to take into consideration the counterbalancing Sephirah and the influence of the Cliffah. Great. 22. The unbalanced force of each Sephirah, then, which arose unchecked during the temporary phases of disequilibrium that occur periodically in the course of evolution, forms the nucleus around which were organized all thought forms of evil rising in the consciousness of sentient beings, or through the operation of blind forces that happen to be out of equilibrium, each kind of inharmony seeking its own place. It will follow then that what was at first a mere overplus of a force, both pure and good in its intrinsic nature, may, if not compensated, become, in the course of ages, a highly organized and developed center of positive and dynamic evil.
What you think so far, man? Y'all vibing?
It might be working now, but give it some time. Aha. My son will sleep night with his headphone watching you, so I changed it to children's positive affirmations. What? Oh, you heard me. It was good sleep, though. I'm going to do it again, too. That'll teach you to fall asleep with your headphones on. '23. An example will once again help us to make this clear. An overplus of the necessary energy of Mars, Gibera, the energy that budges inertia and clears away that which is effete and outworn, be certain to occur during the period prior to the emanation of Tifereth, the Redeemer. Right, because Tifereth comes after Gibera. As soon as emanated, the Redeemer would compensate the severities of Gibera, even as our Lord said, "A new law I give unto you. Ye shall no longer say an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth." Now, this uncompensated severity of Gibera gave us the jealous God of the Old Testament and all religious persecutions that have ever been done in his unbalanced name. It forms the Cliffah of Gibera, and every cruel and oppressive nature is in sympathy with it. To its sphere goes all the overplus of the force they emanate that is not absorbed by the opposing force in the universe. All the unslaked revenge, all the unsatisfied lusts of cruelty, and these forces, whenever they find a channel of expression opening up, rise through it, don't they? Consequently, the man who gives way to cruelty soon finds that he is not merely expressing the impulses of his own undeveloped or misshapen nature, but a great force, like a stream in state, is urging him on, driving him from one outrage to another, till finally he loses his self-control and discretion and is swept away to self-destruction by some incautious expression of his impulses. Yo, that makes me think about drug addiction, right? Because think about that slippery slope. How if left unchecked, you damn near become a zombie. You damn near become possessed by this force. Like it's not merely just you making a harmful choice. It's like you have this entire force of the drug behind you, consuming you, turning you, transforming you into something. Wild stuff, huh? Makes me wonder. Framestar Film says elementals. Remember we said previously in the chapter about Malkuth, she talks about the Qliphoth, and she talked about how the Qliphoth was even more dense than Malkuth, and how there are things or forces that have taken form that are, if invoked, will readily take that form again. In other words, easier to manifest. Could it be that that was an example of something she's talking about? What we call drug addiction today?
Yeah.
Could these actually be Qliphothic
I'm
forces,
not live
elementals,
on that channel.
and we find that the easiest way to invoke
Another
them
channel.
is through some heroin and some cocaine, etc., alcohol, fentanyl, opening pathways to a non-useful, non-appropriate state of existence. Anyways, I'll read the last part again. Consequently, we'll go back a little bit more. Forces, whenever they find a channel expression opening up, they arise through it. I'll look one more. To its sphere goes all the overplus of force they emanate that is not absorbed by the opposing force in the universe. All the unslaked revenge, all the unsatisfied lust of cruelty. And these forces, whenever they find a channel of expression open up, rise through it. Consequently, the man who gives way to cruelty soon finds that he is not merely expressing the impulses of his own undeveloped shape and nature, that a great force like a stream in space is urging him on, driving him from one outrage to another, till finally he loses his control and discretion and is swept away to self-destruction by some incautious expression of his impulses. Curse, let one demon and six more will come to. That thing is. Yeah. That was a Jesus thing. I believe his number was 7. One true goddess, peace. One true goddess says, on point, experiencing that right now after deciding to stop taking a medication, but real nervous about to vape. Who or what needs to vape? Zero says, elementals to be forgotten and search for ways to be channeled. Exactly. Dead but dreaming? Not dead, which eternal lie. Stranger on death may die. Or whatever H.P. Lovecraft, James Hetfield said. Fearless wretch, insanity. He watches lurking beneath the sea. Great old ones, forbidden sight. Hunter of the shadow is rising. In madness you dwell. It says, whenever I'm back to or in the past, they slowly come back with it. Yes, all the friends. Damn, the devil chooses when music is over when you're dancing with him. Shit, man. Because you know I am. Wait a minute. JoJo says, Bobby said, all the druggies are Qliphoth zombies, and when they see Travis Major Squad, they bow down not to them, but to the spirit in them. Hopefully you can dispense a word that helps poor souls. Curse says, felt crackhead sweating in my sleep when I let that vape go a month ago. Like with that self-control, right? That focused occasion, you got through it. And if you overcome that, if you can overcome the river forces that possesses you, you give in, you can overcome anything. 24. Whenever we make ourselves the channel of any pure force, whenever we make ourselves the channel of any pure force, that is to say, any force which is single and undiluted by ulterior motives and secondary considerations, we find that there is a river in space behind us, the stream of corresponding Sephirotic or Qliphothic forces that is finding a channel through us. It is this that gives the single-minded zealot his abnormal power. What did Rana Darshan say about single-minded focus? Well, the book said that that's the very definition of Dharana. one pointed focus. It's a superpower. She said, whenever we make ourselves the channel of a pure force, that is to say, any force which is single, undiluted by ulterior motives and secondary considerations, can you do that? Or do you even want to? It's something that you want to do. Can you see a benefit in your life, like when that would be useful or appropriate to become the channel of a singular force? No ulterior motives, no secondary considerations, a pure force. What do you think? Kerr says each letting go of each coping mechanism brought newer insights to shadow work. This is the first time I fully stopped smoking weed, vapes, hookah, etc. There was a reasoning behind it. Yeah, you know this ain't me, Curve, but I wonder if there's something going on in your chart because this sounds like an extremely transformational time for you. You know, I'm not somebody that the stars, but I don't know, man. You seem to have the power of God behind you. Lately. Oh yeah, there's this whole North thing. Shit, forgot about that. But hey, man, you doing it? Please keep doing it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Curses, I don't know what's going on. I just follow my insights now. Get better. That's all right, man. That's all right. Let that serve as some inspiration, y'all. Let that serve as some inspiration. Somebody's doing the work and getting life-changing results for themselves, following their path, following what they know to be right, having the strength to not go back to distractions and what did you call them? Coping mechanisms. That's not easy. Look at all of us at our coping mechanisms that we refuse to even battle. Whether it's sex, food, video games, drugs, look at coping mechanisms. Instead of sitting there like, okay, I see what's happening now. I'm stressed. I am just now. I'm running my coping mechanism. Instead of running, I don't know. Congratulations. That's good. For the culture, peace, peace. Alora's second half of March is all Aries, and a lot of planets are going to Aries.
Yeah, I do know I've been in the
Versus higher self meditation and elemental meditation hit different. Fuck yeah. All right, so keep in mind, like I said before, this is chapter 20 on the conclusion. Obviously, this is not the end of the book, as you can see. This is conclusion, but next she's going to get into some that she's written about the paths. Like I said in the beginning, she actually intended to write a book about the paths just as deep as this about Sephiroth, but it never materialized by her hand. So we're going to read what she did write about the paths, and then the next we are going into, I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, it's all about the paths. So I don't know about you, but I'm getting this master's education. Ain't nobody tell me nothing. Not when it comes to this. All right, so let's wrap it up. Chapter 27, conclusion. 1. Having ended my study of that portion of the Holy Kabbalah, which is concerned with the Sephirah of Australia life, I could find no way to say them. The little done, the undone, vast. Shit. Two, this book will, I hope, be followed by other books. The 22 Paths form a system of mystical psychology, being concerned with the relationship between the soul of man and the universe. As the 10 Sephirah, being concerned with the macrocosm, are key to elimination So are the 20 paths, being concerned with the relationship between macrocosm and microcosm, the key to divination. And divination, taken in its true sense, is spiritual diagnosis, a very different matter to fortune telling. Spiritual diagnosis, a very different matter to fortune telling. 3. The spheres that God upon the tree is also a matter of profound interest to immediate practical application, for they give the key to rites that were performed as a means, and a very effectual means, of contacting and equilibrating those forces, those different forces that are personalized under the names of the gods. 4. All these things, however, require detailed knowledge, and that can only be got together gradually. It is more than one pen can do unaided, and I should welcome the correspondence of those who are interested in these subjects, not as research into antiquity, but as living forces that come home to men's business and bosoms. 5. All that remains to us of ceremony.
Come on, love. Don't get acting.
Interesting of women. See, there's something special about it. 6. Viewed as a means of invoking the spirit of God, ceremonial appears tradition. But viewed as a means of evoking the spirit of man, it is pure psychology. And that is how I do it. The lost art in the West, but an art that is well worth reviving. Well worth reviving. Seven. In these pages, I have given the philosophical basis on which this rests. Its practical application depends not only upon technical knowledge, but upon the development of certain powers and by careful and prolonged training, of which the first is the power of concentration, Duran. The second, the power of imagination, Darsha. Boom! That's what those two words mean. It is concerning the power of the imagination that we so lament ignorant in the West. Ku just missed a thing he sought in detention, such for spontaneous motion. All right, and there you have it. That concludes tonight's short study. Short, so 28, it's very long. Chance made through it all. There's always that up. Shit, it'll take two. But either, you know what? We twin Empire Tree, top to bottom, also the down. This was right after Cosmic Doctrine. It really explained the chalkboard, right? Literally, because that was written for this one. So we're getting a comprehensive view of what the tree is all about. And in my knowledge, awareness, experience, my library, I have several books on Kabbalah. This one is and has always been not only my favorite, but most comprehensive, like 300 degrees comprehensive. Because about this author, this is somebody who clearly knows her stuff. Number 2, she's not too biased on any type of political thing, or I know people don't like if she says the word white man or colored or whatever, but she isn't really too dated or biased on cultural perspective. Anyways, what I'm saying is, like, all around, this is the best book on Kabbalah that I have seen. And I've read a few, right? I've read quite a few. Many are good, but this is the best. I hope to find a better one. I want to find a better one, right? If you know a better one, I will read it. Because I want there to be a better one. Shit. But until that day, this is the best one. So it's only right, I would think, to really conclude the study of the tree by getting into those paths, right? Now, of course, the remainder of this book is going to go into the subjective workings. It says right here, in conclusion of the mystical Kabbalah, the fortune indicates that the paths on the tree are sufficiently important to deserve a book devoted to themselves. It is greatly to be regretted that her proposed book never materialized, although a series of articles in the Internet Journal appeared in the form to be found below. So we're going to read what she did write the paths. After we finish that, we're going into the book by Gareth Knight. I read part 1 years ago. We're going to read part 2 coming up next. So if you don't have the text, go ahead and grab it off Amazon. Still got some time. I know that part 1 was excellent. Part 2 not be any less. All right. My notes says that's all I'll talk about tomorrow. Okay. Well, definitely tune in. What time are you going live? I know that you're, what are you, Central Time? I think you're Central Time. I say, Trav, I sent you a message on IG last week regarding second one-to-one elemental set. Get back to me when you can, please, bro. Okay, I will, most definitely. Jojo says, can you path work with cognitive bias? Absolutely. You can path work at any state, but understand uh, those things which you named cognitive bias will present themselves. But here's the thing also, when you're aware of certain mental blocks, they diffuse those blocks a little bit. The awareness diffuses those blocks a little bit. Yeah, man. So look, this has been a serious time period. Let me tell you. I'm wrapping up some personal show work myself, going through some NLP and hypnosis and using all my Batman gadgets in my belt because, geez Louise, I'm facing a shadow that is probably the most powerful shadow I've faced yet. So I'm having to develop new tools. I think we've pretty much reached a stretch. Justice Trap, do you think understanding is the key to healing? Understanding. I think like what I want to say is non-attachment, but before you can have that, you do have understanding. So I would say that understanding is pretty up there. Not the most important. It's one of the main keys that you need. Because you understand compassion for yourself. There's no enemies, right? There's no enemies. This isn't about blaming somebody. It isn't about villainizing. It's like what she said. We face the shadow. We reintegrate. We reabsorb it. We put it back into line with the rest of the system. You can't do that without understanding. Lady Sister, you read part 2 on your own. Have you read it early? I have not read part 2 yet. Very excited to read it. Otherwise, me too. Going back to HMR, so cute indoors. Yes. And what I'm seeing also, it's at every level of, it's like we evolve in our lives and everything we do, and we usually come to a place where there's a big test, and if we don't pass the test, we can stay stuck there until we pass it. What I'm seeing is that like every test, every major weight, that's when I see that shadow work become super important again. I don't know if my Gnosis is still here, but shout out to my Gnosis. He sent me something about just a video about hypnosis, how very high earners and business people and people who are doing big things in the world, they still utilize hypnosis and things like that. As also, it sounds like nobody's too big. No matter what position you are, we all have the same human mind, the same system. There's the same. My final muscle mechanism, food. Oh man. Everyone's different. Right? Everyone's different. I remember facing that fellow. He wasn't difficult to me, but my brother's having a hard time with him. It's all about how we have defined those mechanisms in our mind. I can go without food. I can go too long without food. Lord says it's time for new game. Like a real ghost when I did held for such a long time. Yes. That North no shifting, right? I'm feeling it for sure. Like, yeah. Working with some Cliffotic force as well. Probably a little longer than I should have. I had to certainly do what she talked about in the chapter that we read tonight, as far as balancing. Find the influence of the opposite side.
Your habits, your thoughts, your words, your actions. Forever.
This type of work for me sometimes goes on, during such days on end of experiencing and trying to interpret, tinkering, sometimes being overwhelmed by these forces and having to fucking sleep off or go do something else, like binge The Sims. Recently, I had to do something to completely upset because I got stuck in a loop. That's one of the downsides too. You're tampering with some of the stuff. It's trial and error. I'm mistake. Well, not really mistake, but I got myself dealing with some of the Cliff courses. I had to break my team to get out of it, man. It's like if I stuck in trance like that, literal days will go by. Days will go by, and I'll be stuck in this like groundhog day loop of literally same shit. Wake up, same thing, go to sleep, wake like I'll get stuck like that. Not to snap out of it. Because if I let it, I should go on for months. I mean, I understand it's like it's of my own doing because I try to create a timeless environment for myself. I try to create a world where it doesn't appear the time is spent. So I make everything kind of the same. But the side of that is I can really, and it is for trance induction, right? I literally do this on purpose. But when it gets out of balance, I can get stuck in a time loop. I can get stuck in a time loop where I, hell, won't even leave my room. But anyways, one of the things I did break my cycle was I watched movies. I don't watch movies. The movie that came out that's called, what's it called? Companion? Has anybody heard of Companion? It just came out a few weeks ago, maybe. I really enjoyed it. Nice AI horror. Usually movies aren't very good. They're kind of like, meh best. But this one was really nice. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the twists and the surprises. And you root for the hero and hate the villain, I tell you. Anybody heard of that movie? Cool Kai asks, you got Sun in 12th house traits. I do not have the Sun in 12th house. My son is in the 6th house. Mr. What about Lake Mungo? Alright, I didn't watch it yet. I still have it open up in the tab. Alright. I still have it open up in the tab. The next time you ask me, the answer will be yes. That's for sure. What was it? Lake Mungo and Beyond Lemuri. Watch on second. Alright. So, everybody doing good? Anybody have anything that they'd like to say, add? I feel like somebody is something beneficial to share. I mean, but if not, that's cool. We can resume it later. I might actually have to break this up into like 2 readings. Sheesh. Yeah, this will definitely have to be broken up. 19. Oh, yeah, that's a lot of just. Kuya says, I missed the dream back on music. Can you hear it? Is it audible? All right. Well, everyone seems to quiet. Well, you can hear it. I wonder what is. Jojo says, yeah, I want to let everyone know Laura got some fire guided meditation y'all didn't know. Hey. Hey. No deal. Click on Laura's name. It should take you to her page. If you click on it, it should take you channel, I believe. If not, you type in Talk with Shooting Meditation and Laura should come up. Make sure. Hell, if you type in Talk with Shooting Meditation, the Lord's page will pop up. So it says, don't chance it. It's right here. Like, when you type in Shooting Meditation, you'll see, it'll say the channel Laura. See, Poor Kills, got it. Oh, yeah, you're a mod, so you can post the link. You can actually post the link. All right. Everyone seems kind of relaxed and cool. That's fine. She'll post the link, then we will wrap this session. Beeble bomb. Yeah, it's all good. J. Paul says end it, and I'll put it in the comments. All right, we'll do it that way then. We'll do it that way. He says, I'm for for the final time. That homeless man, instead of running for the first time on YouTube, I put out a video that wasn't music. It was received better than my songs. Awesome, awesome. Shit, I'll check them. I'm no longer homeless, and I got some real magic coming soon. Fuck yeah, dude. Hell yeah, man. Proud of you. I wouldn't expect any less from a real agent. Tell you, man, this is a great year. This is a great year. I'm happy to hear that, brother. It's not even about showing out on social, because that doesn't mean anything. It's about transforming your personal life. See somebody has something to share. I like it. I mean, that kind of thing makes me excited for myself, you know, like, good things, man, thanks. How does the voice great? Zero asks, so I have a question. What do you think is the causal plane? Is the movement at zero state, like the three superior triad? Okay, so when we get up to the higher planes, I'm finding it does take a little bit of scrutiny, right? A little bit of surgical precision. Because once you get to a certain plane, it all starts to feel the same, like similar. That's where the items kind of help. They have this maps, right? Let's see what but one way that I like to think of it is like we're doing Tao shooting meditation. You know, you do Tao shooting meditation and you expand past 5 elements and you expand past Om. Once you start at Om, a lot of it starts to feel really similar. But past Om, you know, you can kind of self-expand by Kriti. You kind of see the Buddhi aspect. And then past the Buddhi aspect, you got, I guess you could say the Purusha aspect. So in terms of the causal plane, I think the causal plane is somewhere around that Buddhi aspect, personally. So when you shared with me about like the whole Shiva state, I would say the causal plane would probably be like, you talked to me about how it flips upside down and kind of seems inverted. I think the causal plane is right at that middle point of the flip. Because if the flip is past the causal plane, if that makes sense. Congratulations. Just says, Travis, I smell like bullshit. And my shit. It's my sister, I'll leave. Zero says, you literally make me improve like nobody in my life. I'm still like fit and ineffable. Totally makes sense. So thank you. Awesome. I know that you know what you're talking about. You are describing me. I can just use your words. But yeah, man. I don't suggest using psychedelics and all that stuff they have and take those experiences that you had and compare them to what these books are talking about. Veronica, peace and good evening to you, Veronica. I love you. I hope you're doing great. Cool. Borkill says, washing my hands, but thanks, Travis. Yeah, shrooms was that for me. Yes. My brain couldn't do that as you said it. Yeah, right. That's why it's like very, like you literally had to experience it to kind of like listen to what I just said there. We'll start getting up into those levels, those higher levels. There's much to see. Like there aren't any visual. It goes off with a different set of senses. But even in that, there's different levels. And hell, you start losing your sense of. I think part of our work is learning how to navigate those spaces. And how to navigate it sober too, right? Learning how to navigate it sober. And not necessarily mapping them out to a book about it, but personally, I think that's supposed to map them out because I'm dying that's where we're going anyway. So instead of before that, for those dates, meditations like Taoshi certainly help us to have a concept of what's happening beyond body. Show music, peace. All right, I think it's time to wrap it. Check out Laura's meditations. He's channel video. And possibly tomorrow, I'm gonna watch Lake Mungo 2008. It's on YouTube. If you type Lake Mungo 2008,